Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the anxious brain. We're going to explore the science that shows anxiety isn't just some vague feeling, it's a real, measurable process happening right inside your head. So, let's start with a question I bet a lot of you have asked yourselves, probably in a moment of panic. Is this overwhelming feeling real, or is it really all just in my head? Well, the research is crystal clear on this one. The answer is found in the very wiring and structure of our brains. Anxiety is a legitimate medical condition, not some kind of personal failing. Okay, let's get into it. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to walk through this in 5 parts. First, we'll look at what anxiety actually looks like inside the brain. Then, we'll meet the key players involved, connect all that biology to the symptoms you actually feel, and this is the important part, explore how the brain can change and what the path to recovery looks like. Okay, first up, what is anxiety from a biological point of view? It's really time we moved past this idea that you can just snap out of it. So let's be super clear. An anxiety disorder is not a character flaw. It's a condition where the brain's critical systems, specifically threat detection and emotion regulation, get stuck in overdrive. Your internal alarm system is basically on high alert 24/7, and the systems that are supposed to calm you down just can't keep up. And you can really see the difference right here. A balanced brain faces a stressor, deals with it, and then it calms down. The anxious brain, though, it really struggles with that last part. It stays on high alert long after the perceived threat is gone, finding it incredibly hard to get back to its normal calm baseline. So, which parts of the brain are actually running the show here? Well, it really boils down to this kind of battle between two key regions. You've got the alarm system versus the control center. And this, right here, is the core of the issue. On one hand, you have the amygdala. That's your brain's alarm system, and it becomes hyperactive, seeing threats everywhere. At the exact same time, the prefrontal cortex, your logical control center, becomes underactive. So the alarm is just screaming, and the part of your brain that's supposed to say, hey, it's okay, calm down, just isn't picking up the phone. Let's zoom in on that amygdala. Its hyperactivity is the very reason you might feel your heart pounding or your palms getting sweaty in a situation that isn't actually dangerous, like walking into a crowded grocery store. Your brain's alarm is ringing, but there's no fire. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles rational thought and logic, is basically offline. And this is why it feels almost impossible to logic your way out of that fear. It's like having a super sensitive smoke detector with a broken off switch. And it doesn't stop with just those two areas. Anxiety can also impact the hippocampus, which plays a huge role in memory. This can affect how you store and even retrieve emotional memories, often tinting them with fear. It also messes with the communication pathways between the alarm and the control center, making that disconnect even worse. Okay, so we've covered the biology, but how does all this brain stuff actually translate into what you feel every day? How do these changes in brain activity become so, overwhelming? It happens through this incredibly powerful feedback loop. First, the amygdala fires off a danger signal. Then, the prefrontal cortex fails to step in and calm things down. Every time this communication breakdown happens, it actually strengthens that anxious pathway, making it easier to trigger next time. Eventually, anxiety becomes the brain's go-to automatic response to any kind of stress. And this is how those brain patterns become real-life symptoms. That feeling of being constantly on edge, that's your hyperactive amygdala. That frustrating inability to think your way out of it, that's your underactive prefrontal cortex. These aren't signs of weakness, it's just your neurology at work. But, and this is a really, really important but, here's where the whole story takes a hopeful turn. Because none of this is permanent. And the reason for that is this absolutely remarkable quality our brains have. It's a concept called neuroplasticity. Now, it sounds like a fancy science term, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It just means that your brain has the amazing ability to change, adapt, and reorganize itself by forming new connections. Your brain structure isn't set in stone. This leads us to what is probably the most important takeaway from this entire explainer. Just let this sink in. The brain you have now isn't the brain you're stuck with forever. This means change isn't just possible, it's a fundamental property of how your brain works. And the conclusion from that is profound. It means that the changes in the brain related to anxiety are reversible. This isn't just wishful thinking. Brain imaging studies have shown that with the right strategies, the brain can literally heal itself, calming down those overactive regions and strengthening the underactive ones. So, the big question is, how? How does this rewiring process actually happen? Let's get into the ways that treatment can create real physical change in the brain. And again, we're not just talking about feeling better, even though that's obviously the goal. We're talking about measurable physical changes. Brain scans literally show that after successful treatment, the brain looks and functions differently. That's amazing. The research points to a multifaceted approach. It's usually not just one thing. You've got therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is fantastic for strengthening that prefrontal cortex. Then you have medication, which can help calm down that overactive amygdala. And then there are the lifestyle changes that create the perfect environment for all this healing to happen. And please, don't write these off as small things. Daily habits like regular exercise, getting good quality sleep, and practicing mindfulness are incredibly powerful. They actively promote the growth of new neural connections and strengthen your prefrontal cortex, giving you more control over that faulty alarm system. So at the end of the day, understanding that anxiety is a biological process does two crucial things. First, it validates your experience. It's proof that what you're feeling is real. And second, it illuminates a clear path forward, a path where recovery is also a real biological process. And this leaves us with one final thought. We've seen that the brain isn't fixed, that the potential for change is literally built right into its wiring. So the question to leave you with is this: knowing that your brain can change, what's the first step you can take?